Greetings duelist and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to do something very different from what I'm usually doing on my videos. I'll be covering OCG content this time. This is one of the new themed archetypes from the next deck building set, Well Survivors. It's called Vanquish Souls. I figured I'd make a video behind this because after I read the theme and I read the cards behind it, I found them very interesting. I really appreciate like a strategy or a deck type like this one, and I think this has potential in the future whenever it's released. I'll probably do a separate video covering like the other two archetypes from Well Survivors, like the Novalia monsters and the Transcendrix. But I wanted to start with Vanquish Souls because this by far became like my favorite. And I feel like moving forward, there's going to be like a lot of things you can do with this archetype. Without further ado, let's begin. First monster, Vanquish Soul Raisin. Fire Warrior 1815. Those stats are very important. It means it's a target for Rhoda and it's a target for Noble Arms Durandal. Let's go with its effect. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one non-warrior vanquished souls from your deck to your hand. Second effect, you can reveal the appropriate monsters in your hand to activate one of these effects. Fire, this card can be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Fire and Dark, destroy all monsters in this card's column. Okay, so a lot to digest here. First, there's a starter, and not only is it a starter, but it also has an effect that's very decent if you go second. This is already really good for an archetype because like not only do you have a starter in your deck, but you also have like a card that can function as a board breaker. So, and you'll notice later with this archetype, you will have monsters that work as extenders or monsters that can be like a normal or specialed by other means. So yeah, very solid card. I won't talk more on depth with this until I reveal like the rest of the archetype. Let's go to the next card. Vanquishing Soul Panthera. Earth Beast Warrior, level 4, 1719. That means he's a target for Fire Formation Tenki. Very important. Something important to note, you cannot chain the both quick effects in the same chain, or both effects in the same chain. That's the same for all Vanquishing Souls. That being said, let's go to the first effect. If you control monsters in the main monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Notice two things. One, it says main monster zone. So if you control an extra deck monster, you can still summon this card. That's going to be very important when we see other cards later in the archetype. The other thing is this effect does start a chain. It's not like the Kashtira monsters. So very important to note. And you can only use it once in the turn. Second effect, you can reveal the appropriate monsters in your hand activate one of these. Earth cannot be destroyed or battle this turn. Earth and Fire, destroy all spell and trust in this card's column. So again, another good card for going second. Another card that plays pressure on its own, and it can be special summoned. So, really good. You'll later on in the archetype, like I mentioned before, these effects will make more sense on why these cards are way better than what it seems. Let's go to the third monster. Vanquishing Soul Heavy Burger. Dark Machine, level 7, 15, 25, 25, 15. Something important to note, it's an eradicator target. It's a target for like other viruses as well, like deck devastation. Let's read the effects. Um, you can target one non-machine Vanquishing Soul, return it to your hand. If you do, special summon this card from your hand. Um, this makes sense. Like, it's level 7, so it's not easy to summon this card on the board outside of its own effect. So having a self-summoning effect is very important. Um, quick effect, you can reveal the appropriate monsters in your hand, activate one of these. Dark, draw one card. Earth and Fire, inflict 1500 to your opponent. Inflicting 1500 does not look like substantial damage, but I mean, it does not look like a disruption, which is a sad thing about this card. But the fact that it has a draw effect is really, really good because it's a quick effect. You can do it on both players' turn. So essentially, it's like Heat Talker, like the Code Talker Heat Soul, where you can start drawing multiple cards on multiple turns and start like slowly snowballing advantage versus your opponent. 1500 is no small damage by any means, especially, and the fact that this card has a burn effect. Yeah, like time rolls Goldberg. Obviously, we try to avoid those, but it is what it is. Very solid card. We're not looking bad. Next card. Uh, Vanquishing Soul, Dr. Mad Love. Okay, so two effects. Normal special summon, as per a trap. Um, you'll notice later in the archetype that spell and traps are actually really good. Like, some of them are very decent. Some of them functions as extenders. Second effect, reveal. One face of monster opponent control loses 500. Okay. Dark and Earth, return one face up monster with the lowest defense to the hand. It's pretty cool because this does not target. Bad thing about it is you cannot use it against link monsters because they do not have defense. But it's still pretty cool. Like, again, another card that works if you go second. So so far so good. Like, and this also adds your card on summon. So yeah, pretty solid. Vanquishing Soul Pluton. You can only use. You cannot use spots effects in a chain. During your opponent's turn, if you control monsters or monsters you control are vanquished souls, you can special summon. Yep. Quick effect. You can reveal the appropriate monsters after one of these. This either gains 3k defense or 3k attack if you reveal multiples. This is the weakest effect, although it's very important to know that you can activate this in the damage step since it's a manipulation effect. But the reason this card is not that good is because one, this does not extend on your own turn, and two, it's not a real disruption for your opponent. I do understand why this card was made, and when you see the other cards in the archetype, you'll understand how this makes more sense. But yeah, so far the weakest card. You'll probably not run it, or if you do run it, it's like not at multiples. Let's go with the last main deck monster. Caser Various. 3k attack, 1500 defense, Earth Dragon. So during your main phase, you can target one non-dragon, vanquish his soul, return to hand, and if you do a special summon this card. So same thing as the Heavy Burger. Quick effect. Reveal the appropriate monsters. Activate one of these. Earth, this face-up card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects this turn. Earth, Fire, Dark, destroy one other card on the field. Okay, so I like that this card has this effect. It pretty much makes it so, like, your opponent will probably have trouble like killing you, like OTKing you if you have this as a monster you can summon. Um, this also is pretty much a solid win condition against certain decks. Like, off the top of my head, I can think about Flunderies. Um, like they have a hard time out in this. Um, if you face Math Mix and they try to OTK you, they'll have to like work their way to get rid of this. Um, like those are just two examples off the top of my head. Trap Tricks, another deck that pretty much struggles against something like this. Um, Labyrinth, that's another deck that could be problematic if you make this thing unaffected. It means they cannot like destroy you with their trap cards. And this has tricky attack, so it pretty much goes on par with Lady Labyrinth. Yeah, like very solid card. Um, I don't like that you have to reveal 3 types for this, but that's pretty much the theme of the deck. And you do run like these 3 attributes already in your main deck. Like you have fire, earth, and dark already. And this kind of makes it so you have to be like extra creative when it comes to like building your deck. But yeah, solid monster. Let's continue. Rock of Vanquisher. Um, this takes 1 Vanquish Soul monster. It's a link 1. First effect cannot be used as sting material ever, so very important to note. You can only use the second effect once per turn. So first effect, if you control a Vanquish monster, your opponent monsters can only target your monster with the highest attack. So for example, if you have like Kaiser Various, they can only attack it, which is, you know, it already has tricky attack. So in the off chance that you can make it higher, that could be problematic for your opponent. During the main phase, quick effect. You can activate one of these effects. Special summon a Vanquished Soul. Add 1 Vanquished Soul from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so this card is really important because if we go back to all of these monsters, like for example Raisin and Pantera, Heavy Burger, like now you have a card that turns these into interruptions. Like if you have Rock of Vanquisher on your board, so during your opponent's turn, you can summon the Raisin. Raisin will add another Vanquish Soul. And remember, like some of these Vanquish Souls have quick effects to summon, like Heavy Burger and like the Pluton and the Kaiser. So like that's already a +1, and the monster you summon can become another interruption. So like this already destroys other monsters on the column. Take note, it doesn't target either. Panthera also becomes an interruption. Like right, Kaiser Varus becomes another decent interruption. So yeah, I say this card pretty much solidified like the playstyle of this deck. And it's like one of the things that I was like interested in. Take note, this is not a Vanquish Soul, so you cannot activate cards that work with Vanquish Soul for this monster, which is kind of sad. But however, you can use the fact they can summon a Vanquish Soul means that you have enough to work with. But yeah, really good effect. Now for spell and traps. Remember, you have a searcher for these. So Dust Devil. You can activate this card once per turn. Target 1 Vanquish Soul. Change its battle position, and if you do, change face of monsters your opponent control either to the number of vanquished souls with different names. Um, this is a really good card. Just if you look at the format we're at right now, this card is already solid. Like, this is already a disruption against Kashtira. Like, which is really important. Like, if you face against Traptrix, this stops them from making Sarah. Also important. Like, if you face against Labyrinth, take note this card does not target and it does not destroy, so you can set Lady Labyrinth with this, even though she has like targeting protection. Like, if you face against Branded, this card is kind of weak against them because they can still fusion with face down monsters. But if you just want like an interruption against them, like if they try to like work against your board, this card can set Red Eye Star Dragoon. So if you bait its interruption, you can use this and set it, just because it doesn't target or destroy. So things to take note of. By the time we get this archetype, maybe the format won't be the same, so it's hard to like justify how strong this card will be in the future. But right now, if we're looking at our current format, this card is really solid. Vanquishing Soul continue. Pay for 100, target a Vanquishing Soul in your graveyard, either add to your hand or special summon in defense. So it's a quick play reborn, which is really good because you already have some monsters that work on summon. Like, this adds one, like that adds a monster, this adds a spell and trap. Like, you have monsters with quick effects to destroy cards. So basically this becomes like another interruption, another extender, another card in itself. So really good. Yeah, very solid. Hard once per turn. Take note of that. Next card, Creator Burst. Target vanquished soul you control. Special summon up to 2 vanquished souls from your hand with different names from each other from the targeted monsters, but their effects are negated. Also return them during the end phase. Then you can return all opponent's card in that target and special summon monsters columns to the hand. It's really hard to gauge how strong this card is because like, if non-targeting bounce removal is really strong. Like, again, I already talked about like cards that have targeting protection, so having a card that works as an interruption against those, like, is already strong. So yeah, like, the issue that I'm having with this right now is that it summons from the hand and requires a vanquishing soul, so you like, there's kind of little bit of setup needed for this card to work. You kind of want to be minimalistic when it comes to your interruptions. And the vanquishing souls you're summoning from your hand, you are probably vanquishing souls you want to summon on other occasions, like the bigger ones. The fact that it also negates their effects is kind of a bummer. It would have been nice if it kept the effects, because that would have meant that you would mad plus in this deck, like, just by summoning, adding, disrupting. Like, I think if this card didn't have the negation effect, it probably would have been like a little bit too strong. I think this deck would have been like, I want to say tier 1 contender, like right off the gate, but I would say like already really strong. But I understand. This is also a reason to justify like the playability of Pluton, as well as like other monsters, because basically what they want you to do this with this archetype is spam as many vanquished souls as possible and disrupt your opponent with as many effects as possible. This is basically a very snowbally deck in that regard. Let's read the last card. Vanquish Soul Calamity Kaiser is a counter trap. You can only activate one card with the same name. When your opponent activates spell, trap, or monster that targets a card you control and you control a Vanquish Soul, you get the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. Then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of one Vanquish Soul you control. It's a bummer that it only works on targeting. However, it's easily searchable. You do not. Its activation conditions are very easy to fulfill. And targeting protection against your guys is never a bad thing. For example, you summon Kaiser Various, you try to do his effect, they try to imperm or something like that, then you can just Calamity Kaiser and they cannot interrupt you anymore. I'd say it's a solid card. They reveal Fire Formation. Thank you for the next build, set. Pretty much because Pantera is a Beast Warrior. So yeah, things to talk about this archetype. One, the fact that it has a one card starter, and that starter is also an extender because of the existence of the Link monster. It's already really good. The fact that you have a Link 1 is really strong. If we look at all the Link 1s in the game, we have some of them that are already banned. We have some that already solidify an archetype all on its own. So that's already really strong. Take note, these are all different types and attributes. So there can be only one can be played in this deck. However, you do lose to Rivalry and Ghost and Match, which is something very important to note. But yeah, I really like this archetype. I think there's a lot of potential that can be done here. The fact that you're working with different types and levels makes it so you can pretty much play this as an engine for other decks, or you can play other decks as an engine for these cards. You have a couple level 4s, so there's playability for rank 4s possible. One of the extenders is level 7, so Cashier is in the format, so I don't know what you can do there, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. I'll probably do more videos involving this archetype in the future. Probably deck building theory, how can we solidify this archetype, other playability stuff you can do with it. How good would it be gauging on next format or in this one? But yeah, stay tuned. More videos coming soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.